In this first video of Sample Maker CAD, I'm going to explain the workspace inside of Sample Maker. So you'll notice I have an X and Y coordinate system that's on the screen. So you can see the X and Y axis. The origin point, there's not an actual point there, but the system knows where it's at. I have different sketch line tools up in this section, and for each tool, you'll notice for sketch, I also have menus where I can say, you know, I want the what tool, or I can use a hotkey like S for line segment. This is my constraint area if I want to make things horizontal, vertical, go to a midpoint, tangencies, etc. And the same principle exists where if I have the tool, I can come up here to the constraint, and all the constraint tools are listed here. And again, I can go by a menu, or I can also go by a hotkey. And this is common throughout the system. Over here, you'll notice I have this browser window that's open, and it shows me everything active within a drawing. And it's going to tell me what to do with tools. More importantly, the sketch parameters. Later on, when I assign variables like LWD, length, width, and depth, that's where I can come and adjust sizes based on a variable. So I'm going to come over here to my sketch line segment. Notice also it says the S tool. And again, just to emphasize the case, I can get to a tool through there or up here in the menu. And again, see line segment, or I could hit S for a hotkey. So I'm just going to select my tool, and notice here in the browser window it tells me click first point of line on a segment. So I'm going to come into space and click. And then it tells me I can be continuous to go to my next point, or escape gets me out of the tool. So I'll just come down here and hit escape. Now I'll go and try a different tool. Let's say I want to go to this circle tool, sketch circle C. It tells me to click the center of the circle and then click to set the radius. So again, when I do that, you can see that it puts that information there on the right for me for that file. So that's how we can go through and use our sketch and our constrained parameters within the system. Thank you. Sketch toolbar and menus. Notice when you click near a tool or hover the mouse, you will see the key rectangle and circle C arc. You notice they have the shortcut key. If we go up to the menu of sketch, you can see for the different tools. I can see to the right of it also the hotkey that works on the keyboard. Sketch tool, also S key, and up here in the menu you can see the S. You can also notice I can do construction with Shift S. So I'm going to go pick my tool. Over here on the right it tells me what to do. So I'll pick my start point, and I can go wherever I want and hit the escape key or click again. I can also come up to the menu, and here I can go and actually pick the S, and then wherever I click I can go and put in my next point where I can hit escape or click where I want it to be. If I need a construction line, notice I can come in and hit Shift S. I didn't even do the menu, so I'll do that on my keyboard. And now when I draw, I have a construction line. Rectangle tool, or R, I just go on my screen, click my start, and I can put an endpoint. I can just drag wherever I want my rectangle to be, and I can click or hit the escape key. And just to show the size, I'm jumping ahead a little here. I'll pick a line and hit D. It'll show the distance that I drew that one. And I'll click this one and hit D, and it'll show that distance. Here's circle tool, or C. I just pick the tool, go anywhere on my screen. It draws from center point out. So I can put a circle wherever I want it to be, and I can click or hit escape as before. And I just want to show when you get your circle in, if I come in here and select it, sometimes you might get an error if you weren't clicking it right. So I just want the outside of that circle, and I'm going to go, I kind of did it earlier, I'm going to say the D. That'll show me the distance, and you'll notice when it puts it on, it's a diameter distance. If I want to change it, if I pick it, you can see over here in my information box that I can click this box and say show as a radius. So sometimes you might want to show your arc distance as a radius. This is arc of circle, or arc tool A. And you'll notice here it says that it draws counterclockwise. And so it took a little bit to get the hang of this, so we'll practice. I click my first spot, and notice if I drag to the left, that's the way. It's not the center point, it's the first point, and then second point on the arc. So I'm just going to practice and go around if I want one to be on the left side. Start point, and kind of come over, drag to the left, escape, or click for the second point. And I'm just going to practice along to get the hang of it here. I'll come down to the bottom, and I'll click, and notice I drag to the right and release. And I'll do it one more time. At the end, I'm going to actually, later I'll have an advanced video on arcs with some more advanced ways that we can draw arcs in the program. Here's how to quickly do radius or tangent arcs. We hit Shift A, and you just need to select where you want the tangent arc to be, and you just hit the tool. And you can adjust that radius if you need to. So if I want to put one on the top, I'm just going to go up, select that point, and hit the tool or Shift A. The Bezier tool, or B, gives you start and control points on a spline, so I can move along and just click and put the points where I want. I can hit escape when I'm done. From there you can see I can adjust, I can grab points on the spline, those control points, or I can also move other points to where I want them to be. Sometimes Sample Maker CAD, I need a point that's not there, so I'm going to use P for datum point. So I can just go, I can hit the P tool, or I can hit the actual P on my keyboard, and those gave me 2 points. So I'll select this point, notice I can drag it, and then if I want I can use constraint. So I'm going to select that, select the arc, and then I'm going to constrain it. So O is on, so I put that endpoint is now attached to the arc, and I can drag it wherever I want it to go. I can take the other point in this line, and I'm going to constrain it to M. Constrain at midpoint, and it moved that point, so now I have a point at the midpoint of that line, and I have a point on that circle. Sometimes I want to split lines or curves, so that's the tool I'm going to use. So notice that's a solid circle, and there's a line, so I can come over here, and I can split curves and lines, I. So I can use the tool on the toolbar, or I can come over here then, and I'll pick this circle, this line, then I'll go hit the tool, and it only can do one section at a time. I'll get this message here. It lets me know in case I had some parametric set to it or constraints that I broke it. So now I have that line and this line. So notice I have to come back and pick the circle again. And then I'll grab the circle and I'll pick the circle in the line, and then I'll reissue the command so that I break it again, so that this way I have the middle of that line. If I want to segment also down here on the bottom, I will come and I'll just say, okay, I want to break that, so I'll pick this line and that line. I'll go to the tool and I'll break it. It'll give me this message because I had a constraint there. I'll pick again. Notice if I have to do it one more time, if I want that middle piece of that middle triangle, and then I'll just hit the hotkey this time, and you can see that I have it segmented into 3 pieces. If I want to, I can also pick this one, and if I wanted to assign it to a line type or maybe delete it, I'll bring it back. Maybe I want it as a construction, so I can go and I can hit that construction tool again, or toggle construction G. Notice it changed for me. If I want to turn some of the segments to a construction, notice these segments I'm going to use this one here. If I want to turn that to a construction, I'm going to use the toggle construction or G. That turns that over. I can also just pick a line, go to the menu, or I could hit the quick key for it. And also remember, if I did Shift S, that enabled me before, if I need to draw a construction line, I can hit Shift S, and then I can go in and say I need a construction line from this point to up here. Now I'm going to show you how to do some constraints. And you'll notice, just like before, I can pick out different menus and they associate to the different tools for the shortcut letters. So the first one we're going to do is constrain distance. So notice it can go and it'll put the distance on there for me. I just select that. Now if I want to, this is kind of a skip ahead to parametric, but I'll do a quick example, is on that line I can change the distance to 5 and it resized for me. So if I want, I can key in numbers, or I can also put in a variable like length, and I'll tell it, enter the length that I want it to be here, and you'll notice it resized based on that length. So I can assign just a number and it'll change, or I can also assign a variable. Over on the right you can see there the information. So if I pick this circle and I hit D, you'll notice, which is constrained distance. So there's the diameter. On the right hand side, if I want to show it as a radius, you can notice there's a little button there that I can click. And so now I can have it as a radial or a diameter dimension, and you see the numbers. If I want, I can come in and select that. I could change it to a number, but I'll just call it radius and hit enter. And now it'll ask me for what size I want it to be for radius, so I can enter that. I click OK, and I have it resized. My next constraint, I constrain angles. So if I want to constrain these, you'll notice it's N is the shortcut, or I can get it again up in the menu. And tool for the angle, and it put the angle on there for me. I can drag it up a little bit. If I want to get the angle down here, I just pick these two lines. I can hit the hotkey if I wish, or I can go to the menu or the toolbar. And again, you see the angle. Sometimes when you get an angle, it might not be the one that I want. I don't want to see that large angle. If I want the other one, I can hit U, which is other supplementary angle. So if I hit that, that is also a tool on the toolbar. You can see the tool right here, other supplementary angle, U. Sometimes I may not just want to constrain a distance. I might want to constrain between 2 points. So now I'm going to do horizontal projection. So what that enables me to do, if I pick 2 points, instead of just saying the D there, I can say I want to do the projection horizontal, which is the Shift H key. So you notice it did it horizontally between that point. So if I say from here to here, I can hit the same thing. I can hit the tool, and it gives me that horizontal projection dimension. And just for practice, I'll go and do the end one from there to there. And I'll do another horizontal projection. In this section, I'm going to do some vertical projections, and you'll notice when I come in and do them, which is going to be Shift V, it matters where I click first. So notice I'll click here first, and then I'll click to this point, and then when I do my vertical projection, you'll notice that it went up to that point. So if I pick that spot first, then this one, and do a vertical projection, it'll project to there. If I do here, I'm going to swap back to a horizontal. So I picked that point first, and it moved it up to that spot. I'm going to now constrain things horizontal and vertical, which is H and V. That also correspond to the tool, so I'll pick that, and I'll make it horizontal. You'll notice the H, this one, V for vertical. And again, I'll just keep working around. And I'll make this one horizontal, this one horizontal. I skipped here to show you, because of the distance it would have went off, and then I can kind of drag a point as well, and then I'll make that one vertical. If I want to make lines parallel or tangent to each other, I can come in and pick the lines. So that's parallel or L tool, and I can get it through the menu as usual. So those two, you can see the line reference to it. I'll click here. Notice how that those lines associate. That's the constraint actually showing on there. So notice this one here, I can make those two parallel. And then for tangent, this one I'll make it be in line with that one. And when I hit it, notice that they snap to the same line. If I need to make a line perpendicular to another, you can see the angle that this line's at. I just need to pick the two lines that I want. So I'll pick this one and that line, and then I'll go up and hit perpendicular, which is also the left bracket key on the toolbar. So you see here, if I hit the tool, it snaps to 90, and you see the little indicators of the constraint between the two lines. In Sample Maker, I use this tool a lot, which is constrain on or O, and I use it to constrain points. So when I pick 2 points and hit O or hit the tool over here, it'll go and put the points on each other. I like to do this to make sure that I'm on the points so I don't have to come back and debug later. So as I'm putting these points on each other, later I can also drag a point to wherever I want it to be. Now I'm going to move this arc so that endpoint from there to there is O on. From this endpoint to this endpoint is O on. And then I'll say this point to that line is O on. It kind of matters the order in case you were trying to center that midpoint. Here I'll say from this point, center, to that point, I want it on. And then I'm going to go and show a lot of times too, if I'm drawing, I think you remember before we used the datum point to find points that we may not have. So here I'm going to draw a datum point somewhere, and I want that datum point to be on the circle. So I'll select the datum point, I'll select the circle and hit on, and now I can click and drag that anywhere I want. I have a lot of items at times that I want to make equal, and that command is constrain to be equal or Q. So down here I'm going to come in and select items so I can say these two lines are Q, or hit the tool over here. So notice you see the little hash marks on them. I can say this line and that line. Notice the order that I select is important, RQ. So then if I come on over onto this side, I can say that line and that line are Q. Again, the little hashtags show where they're attached at, and I can undo them by deleting. So I can say this line and this line are Q. Notice the longer one matched the first click, so it's the first one that gets matched. I can also come in and pick 4 lines and hit Q, and it'll constrain the angle. So notice it made the angles the same. So I just needed to pick the 4 lines, and as I make adjustments, the other angle will adjust as well. I can also do diameters, so again it matters which one I click first, and you'll see on there where it goes, and I have it set. So if I go this way, the right one first, it will match. I can also match a line length and an arc length, so you can see the link there. I can pick the arc, and then I will constrain them to be equal. So you'll notice when I pick this one again, here and here, Q, or hit the tool, they're equal length. So in this example, I want to mirror this kind of down here, so I'm going to constrain points symmetrically. And again, it's important where I click first. So I'm going to say I want this point and that point. So I want this point to be symmetrical to that one. So that was my selection order. And then I hit my constraint symmetric, or I can hit Y, and you'll notice it made it symmetrical. I drew in this axis for reference just to see, but these little arrows made it symmetric. So I can pick this line, this endpoint, and that endpoint, and say that I want those to be symmetric, and then this point and that point to be symmetric. So I can just hit the Y key. So this is symmetric to that, this is symmetric to that.